I would be among the first to admit that we made mistakes in government. I will be among the first to admit that there was corruption within previous Antigua Labour Party administrations. But I have to admit that the corruption that exists today under the UPP regime makes corruption under the previous ALP administration child's play, my dear people.
I mean, this thing is explosive.
There will be no job losses under the Labour Party administration.
There may be trouble ahead, but while there's moonlight and music and love and romance,
I now turn to the water shortage that has plagued this country for some time. And I say to you tonight that leadership matters. I say to you tonight that the water shortage that our people have been experiencing is an issue that belongs to a different age. And I say too that we have made positive steps in order to resolve the water problem. And I guarantee you that within 14 days, there will be increased water supply in this country.
Let's face the music and dance.
A cornerstone of our general election campaign was the provision of affordable housing. Indeed, we promised 500 homes in 500 days. And we said to you that you would have gotten 500 homes in 500 days. Those with little or no vision said that it could not be done. Well, as your Prime Minister, I say to you that it can be done and that it shall be done.
Let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music and dance.
I mean, this thing is explosive.
This is True Labor Talks with your host, the executive of the Antigua Barbuda True Labor Party.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's another episode of True Labor Talks. So glad to have you here with us. We have a lot of issues to discuss, and we're going to start off really with our campaign as usual. Then we're going to go in this episode talking about the economy and the promises of growth by the government of 5%, at least 5% of our economy is supposed to grow by every year for the next 10 years. That was when it was supposed to be a yield-based economy, where they're supposed to be putting at least $200,000 US dollars into the economy annually. And that has not, 200 million. What am I talking about? 200 million US dollars into our economy annually, because they promised to put in $1 billion, $2 billion in 10 years' time. We're going to talk about what they said they were going to do with this policy for the next 5 years of growth of at least 5%, and the reality that our economy, it's been impacted by the hurricane in September, both Irma and Maria, and it's devastated Barbuda, and to some extent Antigua too, and the inability to get to 5% as was required, as was said by the Prime Minister. But even if this year was circumstances out of our control, due to the act of God or whatever, or the act of the devil, I would call it, in the hurricane. Previous years, we have not performed up to 5%. So the Prime Minister was hoping that we were going to be performing at 5 to 6% this year. And I believe there was a prediction done by some Caribbean Latin American group that our economy will get up to 5 to 6% with the added injection of cash into our economy with the CIP. But as you may be aware, I shouldn't say as you're aware, as you may be aware, is that the CIP program has crashed. And what was $250,000 a pop for a passport is now $100,000. So we have some serious problems here with this, but we want to hear you what the Prime Minister promised and the reality. And we have the clips coming up. In addition to that, we want to talk again about the Land for Youth program. Then we're going to end off about marijuana, some of the developments in Antigua and in the world at large. The real way we believe that we could develop our economy and pay our national debt and just develop this country, which is really lacking. I mean, Antigua is suffering now from lack of employment. It's suffering now from, the government, it appears that they don't even have the funds to beautify our capital because it's looking really dreary down there. Nedwell, what do you have to say, man?
I'm telling you, it's horrible. It's really, really horrible what's going on in Antigua. But let me welcome our listeners, and I want to say hi to them. I want to let them know that I'm glad to be here today. And I'm always glad to come and bring you some information about what's going on in Antigua because, it's a horrible situation right now. We'll be talking about our economy shortly after this, but our economy is on the verge of collapsing and all that. So you just keep listening, and we start off with our campaign, as usual, and let you know exactly what's going on.
We were campaigning this week, and one of the things I noticed is that the people are so willing to listen to what you have to say. I remember the last lady we spoke to on the campaign chair. She seemed to have been a UPP supporter at one time, and she was like, all of them are the same thing. They're always promising this. You're just like, I had enough of it. So she was actually saying, it's just pity that you weren't able to run on the Labour Party ticket. She must have been aware of me before, heard my voice or seen me somewhere. So she was saying, it sounded like she would have given me a try to see what I could have done in St. John's Rural South. But to get back to where we were last week on the campaign trail, we wrote a letter to the Chief Inspector, Chief Health Inspector, Lionel Michael, because after our last podcast and the sort of sights and smells that we had up at the Golden Grove Community Center, we had to write a letter. We did promise it. We did send off the letter and got it down to the health center on Tuesday. We read it over to the meeting we had, the general meeting we had for the True Labour Party. Everybody heard it and concurred that we want to move ahead and try to have this issue, the unhealthiness, the health hazard resolved up in North Grove, Golden Grove community. So what I did, I went down there on Tuesday with the letter. Unfortunately, Mr. Michael is on vacation. Apparently, it sounds like if he's going to retire soon. So they send him on the vacation. Anyway, I spoke to a lady. Let me see if I can find it in my wallet here. The name of the lady. She's the Deputy Inspector, Chief Inspector. Deputy Chief Health Inspector Sharon Martin. So she wasn't there. I left the letter for her. And they told me they'd give it to her because it's something that needed to be acted upon immediately. And I called her later on, an hour or two later, and I got her. And she was accommodating. She said, well, they're going to do their inspections and so on. So I'm not going to rush them like tomorrow. It's just Tuesday. It's just basically a week, give or take, since they got that. So I will give an update in this podcast probably 2 weeks from now, because I'll probably call it next week, give her a fortnight. And then give them an update the following podcast or what happens. You have to give them time. You don't want to
I don't want to rush them.
Ramming it down their throat to go and do this. I'm sure they have other matters and all they're dealing with. So I think that's fair. Within a fortnight, they can at least inform me that they went to see what we're talking about. If it's a health hazard somebody's reporting on, and they have given you pictures of what's going on up there, I think a fortnight should be enough time for any work. Obviously, the social worker supposed to be a civil servant, get their gear and go and see what the problem is and see what they can do or can't do about it. So that's where we're going to leave it with the Go Community Center for this week. The campaign this week was so many people. And some of the guys we saw, some Spanish guys that didn't really want to be involved with politics. But when they heard of our plans for our community center, they said, that sounds like a good idea. You know, so we met some guys also. A gentleman who was living up on the Sousa Road for nearly all his life.
Long time.
And he was talking about the same Union Hall and what he remembered down there and who used to live around it and so on. And he met another lady not too far away from him. And she is saying that in the 1950s, she actually taught a school there, the Peters School.
That's right.
So it was so amazing, and they seem so eager, you know. Boy, that's a good idea, boy. I'd love to see that something come back alive, you know. That was the most vibrant building in that community for years, for decades, generations. If we're talking about, at least we heard somebody that said they taught there in the 1950s.
Oh, yes.
I don't know. We're going to have to do some sort of history, do some sort of research.
History
Speak to her herself and to others who knew the history of that place.
That's right, the area.
Because so much has happened that is positive. That is the area and a time when people were just getting the right to go to secondary school.
That's right, yeah.
Right? And they're already providing school in there. I don't think it was a secondary school. It sounded like it was a primary school also. Right? But at least something was happening.
The education was being dished out inside.
It's distributed to people.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask, we have to go back there and find out for what period of time. If you say in the 50s,
yeah, we need to
how
update.
long was that school in operation there? What authority was that with assistance from the union? Was there separate private stuff? But she had so much information, and it was just unfortunate that we saw her at the end of the campaign that day.
Right.
And it's getting dark, so I didn't even take a number, you know,
Because
it was so dark. But yeah, we're going back in there. We're going to share that information with you. It's good to knowledge is power. Ned, will you have anything to say about the campaign?
Oh, yes, we we went out campaigning, as you mentioned, and we met some people. Very interesting people. But if you notice, the first set of guys that we met, they were talking about not voting for anyone. They were so disappointed with the UPP from the last time they were in power. And then they started to talk about this present administration who had promised them work and all that good stuff, and ending up, when I heard the guy say, this man insulted us because we go and got our education, and this man is telling us to cut wood and burn coal. So I'm saying, look, yeah, we understand what's going on there, but you can't let something like that deter you and take away your power. That the only time you have a particular type of power is under the election day. And you can't now decide that you're going to throw that out the window because the man you claim he insulted you. I'm actually insulted myself when he talked that nonsense. Because, you know, people go and educate themselves and all that to come back. Not to hear that. We want to hear that you have things in place in order to put us to work and all that good stuff. You say, well, look, we have to baffle on our own. Go cut some wood, burn coal, catch crab. You know, raise pigs and all that good stuff. You know, I'm saying, wow. But the guy, he was somehow correct, but I can't see him not playing a part in the election process to even make a change. Because you're not satisfied with what's going on. You know, you need to do something and play your part. And you not playing your part, you're behaving similar to how they're behaving, not doing what they're supposed to be doing in office. So, you know, the campaign was nice. As you said, as we went along, we met some Spanish people, and they were sort of reluctant with the politics. But after they hear that, look, this is not just mere politics and we come here to ask you to vote for me on election day. No, we are here to tell you our plans. And when we told them what our plans were, man, the man put down what he had in his hand and he started talking. He felt quite comfortable with what we had to say. He said, man, that's a good idea, whatever you're doing. And not only that, he commended that, look, you're not even in power. You're doing this as opposition. Yeah. And, when he said that, now I'm feeling, well, look, we're on the right path. So, it was a good campaign all the way up. When we, as you said, when we came up, we got a history lesson from two persons. The gentleman the second to last and the last person that we actually met on that campaign day. They said, look, the man says, 70 plus years I've been in this community. So what
72 years old.
72 years. He said, I've been right here in this community, so I can tell you exactly what's going on. And it's so different right now. The party in power is not even behaving like how politics used to be. The one before, they disappointed just about everybody. And then when we got up to the lady, we got another additional history lesson where she's telling me, there was a school in that building where you went to, you were planning to put your community center.
And I taught there.
Yeah, yes, and she taught there. It was so enlightening. And it was so good to know that you're meeting these people that were involved. Yes,
authority.
Yes,
they were
from back.
there.
They can speak with authority, of course.
Yeah.
And they were part of the whole process from way back. So we are so pleased with our campaign. But we met a lady on the road. She was just actually going home. She's the same country, but it was so dark that we couldn't even get so deep involved with her. Yeah. And she appeared to be UPP, old-time UPP supporter.
At some point, yeah.
At some point. But this time, boy, she is not even thinking in that direction, and neither ALP, because as far as she's concerned, boy, it's two of the same, and there's nothing happening for the people. So, we told her we're coming back next time on and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're going back tomorrow, man.
Yeah, man, we got to go back and meet with these people because they're eager. They're now eager to meet with us.
They want to talk.
Of course, man. They're hurting.
Let them know that there is hope.
Yeah, of course.
With the grace of God, we get that community center
take away
up.
some of the hurt that they're feeling.
Somebody asked me, I have 17 candidates.
Yeah, like that.
And if you don't get 17, then you can't get elected to office.
What is that?
So I told the person, what do you think in my position? What would I prefer? If one person run Weber the third run, and I get the community center up, or I have 16 other candidates, which one do you think I would go for?
Pause.
That was very easy. I would go for the one candidate and the community center
to benefit.
Because I could benefit people whether I win or lose in the next general election.
That's right.
Just the fact that area, that parcel of land has so much significance of educating people.
Yes,
not only school-wise, academia, but even in politics. That was a center, that was a hub for the union politics, a union hall. You understand? That educated generations of politicians up to my father in 76 when he ran the first time. And eventually he purchased that parcel of land himself.
That's right.
But even after that, you have to take into account that unfortunately it was burned down in the late 80s, early 90s. And who knows what role that little shack would have been still doing for the area. Because after that, nothing has really been done.
Absolutely.
Yes, they have parcels of land that they'll put a red and white house on, more like a dwelling house. Or they will rent somewhere to go put it off the UPP or so on. But there's nothing in St. John's Rural Zone that is year-round. Annually, it is there. It is providing some sort of service to the community. And that is one of the things that I am dying as a politician. And what the guy said, but by the time you all build your community centers and attempt to build them in all 17 constituencies, you're going to be grey and old already. I said, but they're already grey.
Yeah, he showed it.
But I mean, everybody has their way about playing their politics.
That's right.
But I cannot see third parties winning an election without proving themselves by doing something to benefit the lives of the people.
So true.
It is good that you have a manifesto, you have sound policies, and you inform the people before the election. Right?
Yeah.
But just suppose, and it's most likely third parties are not successful on the first attempt. What are you going to do for the people? Tell them, keep voting for me until I get there?
That's right.
Not a problem with that.
No.
But the 5, the 10, the 15 years we took UPP to get in there, I'm saying in that time, I do plan to provide some service for that community.
That's right.
That is even more reason they should vote for me.
Of course.
We are not going down the same path. Some people say they're brand new, fresh, and dynamic. But when you come from a system where there has not been a revolution, right, like Cuba, like Mao Zedong in China,
That's right.
and you completely eradicate the system in the past, that is what is new and fresh.
That's right.
Because it's never been like that before.
Tested,
they have
never
revolted
tested.
against
Never
what was
been
there.
tested. That's
So I'm not going to say that you cannot come up with new ideas, but to be new and fresh politically in Antigua and Barbuda, I don't think it's very likely, because you're coming out of something.
That's right.
You're coming out of the labor movement,
Right,
whether it is
the
the
progressive.
Labor Party or the
Or the
union,
UP, that's
which
right.
every political organization can trace their roots back to that organization.
Some, yeah.
Whether it is family member, whether it's your own political beliefs,
yeah.
or the parties that you're associated with or are associated with today, they can trace their lineage back to that labor movement and the labor union. So we realize that the way to get into office is not by coming up with something new, but to hold firm to the philosophies that benefited this society and the
Brought us to
individuals
this
therein.
point. Yes, that brought
You
us to this
understand? To
point.
come out of a vacuum and to say that you're creating something new and fresh. It's not that it cannot happen,
Yeah.
but it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And
It's
if
not
you're
an
saying
easy
this new and
task.
fresh, is that you just referring to the individuals who are going to be the candidates? Or are you referring to a new political
Coming, bringing
system,
something new and fresh to the
which
table.
is usually only achievable through revolution?
That's right. Most
You
cases,
understand?
most cases. Yeah, they have a saying, show and tell. You have the talk, but you have to walk the walk.
Oh, definitely.
And we've been talking about our community center. We want to get it done and all that. So, and this is something that we want to do because, as you said, it will benefit the community, and at the same time, it will let the constituents see that, look, we are a different party. We are going at this thing a different way. We are not saying vote for us, and when we get in there, we're going to do all these great stuff. No, we are saying, look, you see what we are doing, you see what direction we're heading to, and see if you want to be a part of that wagon train. You see? And that is what is, really helping us on, because when the people hear exactly what we want to do and what we're planning to do and what we're in the process of doing, they are so happy to stop, put down what they have in their hand and talk, because they see that's something good that will benefit the community.
Yeah, so we're going to leave it there on the campaign for this week so far, or last week I should say. And we're going to go into the economy.
Yes,
Well, I believe everybody in and out of Antigua by now realizes that our economy in Antigua is very stagnant. The plans and policies of corrupt labor headed by Gaston Brown have not really materialized so far. And we want to play you part of the budget speech for 2015, and then what was said and what was needed, a growth rate in the economy of at least 5%, and then you water it down. You say it was 4.2%, but in fact it wasn't even 4.2% for 2015. It was under 3%, right? Right now we've been hit by Hurricane Irma, and to some extent bearing the repercussions of Hurricane Maria in the region. And I do not believe that we're getting anywhere close to 5% this year. And we have never hit 5% since this party, this corrupt labor, has taken office. So we're going to listen to the Prime Minister, Gaston Brown. This is the 2015 budget speech and what his optimistic outlooks for the future. I believe what happened here is that they said they didn't want to have the budget speech at the end of the year. That was supposed to be November of 2014. They usually have the budget speech. But they pushed it over to 2015, January late January or early February 2015, because they said they didn't want to have the fiscal year. That was really the UPP's year, last of the year. So they wanted to start afresh, and this was the new budget supposed to be from 2015, because the UPP's budget was supposed to be for the full 2014.
Okay.
So listen to what was said by the Prime Minister in early 2015.
The view of my government is that fiscal sustainability can best be attained by achieving consistent annual growth. And I would say an annual growth rates of at least 5% over the next 5 to 10 years.
Simple. Simple and straight to the point.
Yeah.
In order for us to get out of our doldrums economically, we have to grow our economy in Antigua and Barbuda by 5% for the next 5 years. That's his first term. Or 5%, preferably 5% for the next 10 years,
That's right.
which was the way we were going to be able to pay our bills and find work for people and grow this country, develop this country. But then he goes on to say, that's the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Later down in the year, this is what he said, how the economy was growing. Now remember, we have to grow by at least 5%. And this is what he says later down in the year.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank has recently revised its growth projections to the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union region and forecast growth of 4.2% for Antigua and Barbuda in 2015. Let me repeat, Mr. Speaker. The ECCB forecasts 4.2% growth for Antigua and Barbuda in 2015. Our country has not witnessed any such growth for many years. It should be noted that the revised ECCB projections do not yet reflect the value added that is anticipated from the various projects that are to be undertaken in 2015. Therefore, for the first time in many years, our economy could see growth approaching 5% this year. I will continue to push, and my ministers understand that I am in a hurry to grow our economy and to grow it meaningfully so that employment is dramatically increased and poverty alleviated. In fact, let me state here that my most consuming ambition is to put the people of Antigua and Barbuda to work.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from the Prime Minister himself. He said earlier in 2015 that the economy needs to grow by at least 5%. Later in the year, he said that they predicted over 5%, but they had revised it down to 4.2%. But he believed that the actual result of the growth of the economy will be over 5% because of all the projects that his government, the Prime Minister's government, had brought into Antigua. Do you remember 2015 what the big project was up at Barnacle Point? Nedwell?
Yida, yes.
Yida.
It was 15.
The
yes,
$1 billion
15.
project. Yeah, it's not long ago. It's 2015 with the groundbreaking, or as we call it, the windbreaking ceremony.
Right. She said nothing happening. I couldn't.
Nothing happened. So he was saying they're going to even have to revise it up. But there's nothing.
Hey.
Yeah. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, in order for all these good things to happen, like the Prime Minister is saying, you have to have an economic plan. And our only economic plan during that time was a CIP program. That never, it didn't do us any good. It hurt us at the end of it all. But when that came on stream, if you notice in the opening, we have our intro music there that says it may be trouble ahead. They knew it was going to be trouble ahead because they were told that it was going to be trouble ahead. And we ended up trouble ahead, and the CIP program collapsed. The cost of the product went down from $250,000 a pop to $100,000 and all that, and people still not buying. So, I am wondering how he maintains talking about this 5% growth when we haven't even reached there. You mentioned that it was just close to 3% or something like that in 2015. That's how it ended up.
On the 3%.
On the 3%. You know, and I just don't know how he keeps on talking about this 5% growth when he don't have nothing in place in order to get that. So we need to do. There's nothing happening for Antigua at this point in time. The EIDA project, as you said, that 5% probably was based on the EIDA, that whole EIDA experience that never materialized. So I just wonder what is going to be in the near future. I can imagine you mentioned that the hurricane business came through, and you know, and I can imagine that all the excuses going to be put on that hurricane business, that you know,
For lack of performance.
that's right, lack of performance, and this is what it is. So I just do hope that the Prime Minister revises himself and see what he's, you know, come to realization of what he's saying, and yeah, talk. Because, you know, we can't reach no 5% under these circumstances here. We need to put things in place in order to get people to work. You know, you're talking about a 5% growth, but yet still, the unemployment rate is horrible. It's extremely horrible here. And I don't know how, you know, how you separate one from the next. So, you know, I don't understand what the Prime Minister is saying. He needs to go and revise his thoughts and come back and talk seriously to the people. We need to put things in place here that will generate funds for Antigua and Barbuda, just like how other places doing. That's a normal way of doing things. We are not putting nothing in place. We have selected a bunch of investors, that so-called investors, that come here and promise that they're going to put a ton of money into our economy by billions. They weren't even counting by millions. They were talking about billions of dollars, you know, and nothing like that took place. And that's just catastrophic for Antigua, because it's left a lot of people out of work. Unemployment in Antigua right now is at a horrible rate. And he had promised that in 3 years, the unemployment situation would be fixed, because unemployment in Antigua would be no more. And it's nothing close to that here. As you said, while we were campaigning there, this guy was telling us, look, after all them big promises, and this man telling me to go burn coal and cut wood, you know, to help sustain our economy. You know, that is just totally out of hand. And then this is what's happening in Antigua right now. You know, you can't put people to work, and the Prime Minister is telling them now that you're going to have to find a way. It's something like a hustle. You know, you go out there and hustle something. You light up on coal kill. That's a quick hustle, because on Saturday you can go down by where we used to sell the clothes there by bend down there, and work out your aisle tin and all that good stuff. You know, and no, this is not what people educate themselves over here. Just imagine you went to college and all this, and you come back, you know, qualified to be a lawyer, and they're telling you, look, the best I can do for you, have you to be a clerk somewhere down there. You feel insulted. You know, you put all this time into educating yourself to be a part of this whole system and make meaningful contributions. So to be talking like this and then come back now telling me about behaving like it's something that, you know, can grow about. He said that we haven't got to 5% in ages. And still in 2015, he didn't even get to that. So, I really don't even understand what he's saying in terms of, you know, and he need to go and check himself again and look at the whole situation in a proper way, and see what exactly that he can do for you, because he's not doing nothing for Antigua at this particular point. So true. You know, I need to, you know, and we talked about marijuana in our last campaign, because this is the way that we saw that we could have been able to clear our national debt. And, you know, and just have the economy booming. We spoke of the marijuana issue, and we know, and when you see what's going on now with this marijuana thing, this is a leaflet that we printed out here that came from the, let me look at it, marijuana farming booming, tearing apart the northern industry. It's one of these network there that normally brings us up to date with what's going on with the marijuana issue. Now we are talking about that a revision of the cannabis industry, and they went out and they make an impact study and assessment of it. And it says here, the University of the Pacific latest economic impact assessment of cannabis cultivation industry in Calveras County, which is Calveras County. It's a northern, it's a county in the northern part of California. And it says here, estimated that for that small county, with just 16,248 persons employed and a household income of $53,233,100 a year, in 2016, cannabis cultivation was the community largest industry. The total economic impact of cannabis cultivation was $251.5 million, providing about 2,605 jobs. That's in 1 year, Javier. And with a labor income of $148.4 million. Okay, it says the Swamp Calveras County second largest industries is hospitality, with a total sale of $167 million in sale and 1,955 mostly low paid jobs. The county third largest industry was family farming, with a total of sales input of about $28 million. Okay. So you see the difference within the marijuana, what it pulls in, and what these are the industries
that injected into the economy.
But you know what that strikes me here.
That's a healthy economy, I must say.
Yes, extremely.
Very healthy economy.
It's extremely. But what strikes me here, when they talk about the second largest industry, which was basically hospitality. And it's something like what we have here.
Hospitality, so that is sort of service-based industry.
That's service-based. So then, and that's our first. That's not our second largest. That's our largest industry.
Yeah.
So if we was to bring marijuana into the fray, this would have become our second largest industry. Same like Calveras County.
I believe it will, and prospects to be the first.
Absolutely.
The largest industry.
The largest industry, of course, we are everywhere that legalize this cannabis, whether for medical or all this. The industry becomes the first industry, the largest industry, economic industry within that place. I've never seen one place that legalized marijuana that is not that marijuana, the cannabis has not elevated itself to the first large industry.
Yeah, I mean, even last night we were down there at King George V grounds there with the Rastafarian community. I'm giving my personal assistance to them to help them to form their friendly society to promote the legalization of marijuana in Antigua and Barbuda, and to educate the public of the health benefits of the plant, the product. It is a positive thing, and I believe they need some guidance legally and assistance. I mean, I have formed friendly societies before, one being the True Labour Party, so I believe that I can work with those guys. They seem so humble and straight up, man. It's a pleasure. Sure. Some of the best meetings I've had have been with them.
Yes,
they're so genuine and mean good. They mean no harm to anybody.
That's so true.
So we're moving forward. I believe that you're gonna hear of a new friendly society promoting the legalization of marijuana and the cultivation and the better farming practices, and they're gonna form their preamble and their list of aims and objectives this week. So I will keep you updated to how far they have moved with their efforts to form. They need to organize themselves, because when it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when marijuana will be legalized. And as I have told them before, do not be on the outside looking in. When they legalize it, big business is going to take over that industry, and you will be having to purchase your marijuana from meager men or Chinamen or everybody except the Rastafarians. So I am assisting them to organize themselves, so they too, when the time comes, can apply for a license to grow and to sell the product. And Yes, overall, it is the policy of the True Labour Party to legalize marijuana. I believe that we have the best policies in the way we want to move forward with legalizing it, that it will be shared, the wealth will be shared throughout the communities, the different classes in Antigua and Barbuda, that everybody can see direct benefits of the legalization of this product and the industry. So just bear with us. We'll be back again talking about it in more detail. But I believe that just yesterday I saw an article in the Daily Observer where the Prime Minister was saying that they're going to decriminalize marijuana. We are so opposed to decriminalizing it, but I must say that it does benefit the young people and older, anybody else who is being faced with incarceration because of smoking the product. So I am happy in one sense that it will stop that. But I am saddened in another sense because we are talking about crime is going up, and that the crime is the violent crime and it's associated with the illegal drug industry.
Yeah.
You're going to decriminalize marijuana. If you decriminalize marijuana, the people who would not even think about purchasing marijuana, even for their own personal use, will now say, well, I don't have to take a chance anymore. Because it's decriminalized. It's not a criminal act in certain amounts.
That's right.
So if you are going to purchase this marijuana now and you don't have the fear of being incarcerated, being brought before the courts, aren't you by your act supporting an illegal crime, illegal trade industry, which is very violent and has increased the crime in Antigua and Barbuda? Aren't you fueling that industry? And if the profits are going to be bigger to this criminal industry because people are not worried any longer about going to jail, and if the profits are larger, doesn't that mean naturally, Nedwell, that people are going to be protecting their turfs even more violently?
The crime is
because if it was $2 you're getting today, it's going to up to $4.
That's right.
Or maybe even $6. It's going to double and quadruple. You understand? So I support it in the sense that I'm tired of seeing the stigma on young people in our society and anybody who have to be brushed up by going to the police station in those filthy dungeons. Anybody who goes there for a little bit of marijuana, it is so wrong. But at the same time, there are repercussions that we may actually see as a result of the decriminalization, more crime in our society.
Very much so. But the criminalization of marijuana, what are they saying they're actually doing? Because if you're tackling the marijuana issue there, I would think it will be a wholesale thing where the country is going to benefit from what you're doing. Now, you know, the amount of people that they round up and carry before the magistrate and all that and send them up is not, you know, and charge them some funny money sometimes and all that. That's nothing to gloat about to say, well, look, we're going to cut that out. Where if you are dealing with the marijuana issue, you have to look at it from a wholesale point of view, where everybody, the country in itself, is going to be benefiting from what you're doing. So it simply means that if you're doing that, you're overhauling the marijuana, the problem in Antigua, but that's still, you're not thinking about getting taxes, you're not thinking about improving your economy and all that. All you're saying that, look, I am going to put something in place that you guys, when they catch you with a little portion, you don't have to go and pay the price. And that is not right there.
That is correct.
No, that is not saying nothing for Antigua.
It's still an illegal trade, a legal industry.
Of course it is.
The drug dealers, it's still a criminal act.
Of course.
Because you're not just using it for your own personal use.
No,
this is a criminal act, and I believe the law will eventually embolden these people or enrich them.
That's what it is.
So therefore, the drug dealers, these illegal drug dealers, they're not paying education levy, social security, and medical benefits. So there's no actual benefit to our government economically. It's not becoming part. The funds are not being turned over to the government coffers. If we legalize it now, We make certain that they have certificates
Absolutely.
to sell and to grow the product. Just like you have a liquor license, just as you have a car license, you have to be licensed to sell marijuana or to grow marijuana, and it's highly regulated. And anybody who has a certificate, just like any other industry, any other business, any other company that it's trading as or incorporated, they have to pay their contributions to the Treasury, the Consolidated Fund. You understand? So, yes, I believe based on what we have just said, that crime will be going up,
Yeah, but to me, it's something like a campaign gimmick, a political gimmick for people. Because, you had all these time, you had 3 years, we've been talking about that in our last manifesto.
Yeah.
They didn't even look at it to talk about, well, they probably did and came back with some buggery talk or something like that, as you mentioned. But, to me, it's like, it's getting close to the election. Let's use this as a gimmick.
Last thing of the 3 years.
Exactly, that we're going to do. And then, because when you look at this, and I saw a printout there with Denver in Colorado, where there were a number of persons, over 1,000 applications for people to dispense marijuana. And it was like, $5,000 a pop. When you submit your application, you had to have $5,000 with it. A check had to be in there for $5,000.
Yeah.
Just from that alone, you see how much money was made. So I'm talking about when you really get into the actual going-ons of what's there, you make a ton of money. It's billions these guys are now counting, and they're calling it their primary industry.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking of? You're saying that you're addressing the issue, but you're still not doing it. Because it's not doing no good for the country within itself.
Well, we know this year, I think they said that we had 19 murders, but I think it was revised down to 18, if I'm not mistaken. But in 2014, we played this, I think, the last 2 occasions that we had True Labor Talks, This is just to show what the government was saying in late 2014 about the crime statistics in Antigua and Barbuda. Now we are faced with a crime wave.
Yeah.
This is this one.
I'm very pleased to report, Dave, that over the past 7 months, crime has decreased by 75%. 75%. I believe that the Commissioner of Police will be able to, he has done a pie chart. We speak every day. We speak every day, and he has given me that assurance. I've seen the pie chart myself.
He's seen the pie chart.
You should eat the pie.
We'd like you to show us the pie chart for the rising crime in 2017. You understand? So we predict that the crime wave, if decriminalization of marijuana goes through, will increase.
Yeah, we'll have a
because
higher
people
crime.
no longer fear taking a chance.
No.
So they'll be going out to buy marijuana
And
from
there'll be
the
more money
criminal
circulating
elements,
in
the
the
drug
industry.
dealers.
Yeah,
and
more-
there will be turf wars
Yeah,
because
more money to protect.
the trade is even more lucrative
That's
than before.
right. So you have to
and they'll be
protect your
protecting
turf.
their turf.
You got to. Yeah, and this is what's happening. So the government need to take a serious look at what they're doing with this marijuana thing. I am wondering if they see the benefits of it as yet. I am not too sure, because if they did and just leave it out, it's because of some particular reason or somebody else is benefited.
Somebody they know, friend, family,
That's right.
company, or themselves
That's
are
right. Is
benefited.
from.
I don't want to beat that topic of marijuana.
Much.
Flog it, right? So we just get in and out, right?
Yeah.
I want to go into one of the biggest disappointments of this present administration, the Gaston Brown corrupt Labour Party administration, and it's about the land for you.
Oh, yes.
They have not even mentioned about getting land for young people in Antigua. They said the young people are the future. They came out there. They had a very good campaign in 2014 general election to attract young people to the party, and said they were going to appoint them to key important positions in their administration. And one of the promises, or one of the reasons why they were elected, that the young people were supposed to be able to afford land. It's going to be reduced the cost of the land. They're going to make it affordable for you. They're going to allow you to get affordable loans through Antigua Development Bank. Don't take my word for it. I'm going to play the clip now from the Prime Minister. This was, I believe, prior to the election of 2014.
Not a promise.
We will empower our people, particularly our young people, by making land available for housing at $2.50 per square foot.
Yes, that is what he promised. I think that was the night before the election, and I think that was aired on ABS. But listen to this longer clip now. This was, I think, at one of the party launch of this campaign headquarters.
Team Labour has a very exciting Land for Youth program. And I say to you, the youths who are here, those of you who are landless, we will make sure that we create the opportunity for you to own a piece of the rock. We will make sure that we provide each working youth in this country with a parcel of land between 6,000 and 8,000 square feet. And we will subsidize the value of the land. We will make sure that a parcel of land would not cost you more than $15,000 for 6,000 square feet or $20,000 for 8,000 square feet. That is what you call empowerment. Plus, we will provide you with automatic loans through the Antigua and Barbuda Development Bank. Automatic low-interest loans. So I said to you tonight that every single working youth would be able to afford the payments for a parcel of land on our Land for Youth program. The equity requirement will be 5% less than $1,000. And your repayment will be in the region of $150. And I put it to you tonight that every single working youth in this country will be able to afford a parcel of land under Labour. Not the $50,000 that they're charging you today. Let's hear it for the Labour Party, man.
Wow.
You understand?
Well, one thing I understand, like they changed their mind.
They don't even mention it. There's not even like in regards to marijuana. They tried to go through and then they had the committee and then Samantha Marshall and they were talking about 5 grams.
Yes,
then they move on from decriminalizing marijuana to decriminalize buggery. There's no mention whatsoever of land for youth to empower them.
Completely gone somewhere.
Just gone aguasa.
Yeah, not even been spoken about. You know, and I hope that the youths realize that was used as a campaign gimmick.
That was a ploy.
Yes,
election
that's right.
gimmick
That's
to get
election
you to
gimmick
polls and vote for them.
the last time around. And hope they don't get bitten by the same set of teeth the next time around.
Yeah.
You know, it's a horrible situation because there's many things that has been promised to the general public. The people have been promised so many different things, and when you look at it, none of these things has materialized. So we, the people, we have to, come to grips with ourselves and wonder if, well, this is our way of life for the rest of our life. Because you have to decide now if you want to make a change, and make a change to what. Yes, we have.
Yeah, Nedwell, this Land for Youth issue is one that is close to home because I remember hearing about it not only on the election campaign, but even when I was with the Corrupt Labour Party. The Prime Minister, the chairman of the party at that point in time when he contested Lester Bird in the for the election, the convention of 2012, he had his own personal manifesto for the convention, and he was promising land was going to be reduced from $5 to $2.50 per square foot.
Yes, he said it.
So he was promising not only at the general election, but prior to that, amongst the youth of the Corrupt Labour Party, he was telling them, that was one of the reasons he took the youth arm. They were supposed to be benefiting by cheap land, affordable land. That is one thing. He sold up the youth arm. He sold up the union itself. But they probably were thinking that this man had such an economic plan that there would be more laborers, more people in the workforce, more membership in the union. Everything you have to take in this wholesome. Everybody was promised a piece of the pie.
That's right.
I hope that's not that pie that
the same
Cutie Benjamin is cooking. He don't cook very good pies.
Hey man, look, this is horrible, man. This is really horrible.
that is our politics right now.
I'm so happy that we can, smile at a few of these things, because if you don't,
have the clips, we have them.
Yeah, you'll cry. If you don't smile at it, you cry to see the situation that we're in right now. We're in a horrible situation here. So. These clips, I'm so glad that we have them, because the people can't say that we're making these stories up. You actually hear it from the person themselves, what they're saying, what they're promising, and nothing come to pass. It's nothing like that. Absolutely nothing there. So we have to keep on focusing on what we plan for the people. As you said, we are planning to set up this nice little community center where the people can meet and help themselves, because you see, the politicians themselves are not. The politicians are helping the people. It's nothing at all like this.
Themselves, man.
Yeah, they have to. People have to be able to get together so we can come up with plans. We can do things for ourselves. We may not be able to do everything we need to be done for ourselves, but there are some things that we can do for ourselves, and keep the ball rolling, and just forget about these politicians in certain instances, because they make promises, and at times they don't even look back at the sum, because look at the plan for youth. The land for youth, we don't even hear a word. They're not even saying not a word like it was.
I've mentioned it on the radio several times. What about the land for youth program?
It's like it never existed.
Yeah, it's just a ploy.
Yeah, it was a ploy, and we can
just
see that. And it's horrible. It's a bad thing.
Vote from them.
It's a bad way of politicians go about doing their business, and fooling the people is not a nice thing, because some people just set up themselves and all that. And what the politician told them, the promises that they make, and they make their plans and say, well, I'll be at this point, and at this point in time, I'll be here in my life, and and it's not like that. You can't really plan with what these guys are telling you, because 9 out of 10 times, nothing happens. So if you to make plans and project that you're going to be this place at your point in time in your life, no, this is unheard of in this place you have here. This is not like how these guys operate. They can make plans because they, enrich themselves most times. You see what happens. Politicians get into power. Shortly down the road, they tell you how rich they are, how much millions they have in the bank and all that. Because they boast on that. And it's tragic that, the people themselves, the hard-working people of this society, can't behave the same way. You can't project that you're going to be here at this time in life. You're making plans to be doing this and doing that for yourself. You'll be having a house and with this amount of land and all that. No, this is unheard of in Antigua right now. The way these politicians do business, and they need to change that there. But we again, I just, not beating a dead horse, but I just need to say, true labor comes in stream, and we are not operating the same area. We don't have any plans to promise people things that we are not going to deliver. Yeah. Whatever we promise people is something that we know that we are capable of delivering, and we have full intentions of delivering
what we promise.
Of what we promise. And then this is not politics of today, as you see. Both parties, they do the same thing. They promise you this, they promise you that, and they don't come through with their promises.
I'd like to end this episode because you're almost there, Nedwell. Yeah, it's 58 minutes.
I'm astonished.
We're running. We're still today. I'd like to end this episode of True Labor Talks. Usually you have the outro, but I just want to end with this clip. There was a political scientist statement in the early to middle of the 19th century. We're talking about 1820s, 1830s, 1840s, by the name of Alec de Tocqueville. He's a Frenchman, and he wrote a book called Democracy in America because he was an ambassador to the United States.
Okay.
The 13 colonies gradually going into what is 50 now. Okay. And he went around America and visited homes and socialized with the Americans for the time he was over there, and commented on this new concept that was put in there, government by democracy. Right? And he made this statement in his book, and this is one of the statements that I think will encapsulate the mentality of the True Labor Party. It reads, the health of a democratic society may be measured by the quality of functions performed by private citizens. I repeat it again. The health of a democratic society may be measured by the quality of functions performed by private citizens.
That's right.
I interpret that to mean, why are you waiting on government to do some of these functions? If in Antigua we're having problems with the government performing signage of the roads, naming the roads, fixing the roads, cleaning the sidewalk and gutters, cutting the hedges, cutting the grass. It is upon us to mobilize, to organize ourselves, so that we can do it. If you have pride in your community, pride in yourself, pride in your constituency, you can't do everything. But I believe this is what the True Labour Party is about. Let us empower ourselves to try to do what government has not done for us in these communities.
That's so true.
And without any further word, I don't know if you want to say something, a little something on that.
Well, I just want to say, just on what you just said there, this is our intention, to get the people together so that they can come up with plans, different plans of how we're going to help themselves. And most of the things that you just talked about there, cleaning of the drainage in front of their homes and all that, we just mobilize the troops from our community center and get things done. You can't depend on politicians these days for nothing. They promise you everything and nothing even comes into place. So that's what I have to say about it.
Okay then, you take good care, Antigua and Barbuda. We'll be back next week, God willing. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
A buzzard took a monkey for a ride in the air. The monkey thought that everything was on the square. The buzzard tried to throw the monkey off of his back, but the monkey grabbed his neck and said, "Now listen, Jack, straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Ain't no use in diving. What's the use of diving? Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top." The buzzard told the monkey, "You are choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free." The monkey looked the buzzard right dead in the eye and said, "Your story's so touching, it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top." Bree-bree-doo, bree-bree-doo, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The buzzard told the monkey, "You are choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free." The monkey looked the buzzard right dead in the eye and said, "Your story's so touching, it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top."